Welcome to It's Supposed to Be Heavy with Jermiah Blount, a show about strength, longevity, and building a body that carries you well for decades. Because resistance creates adaptation, and some things are supposed to be heavy. Let's get to work.
Hi, my name is Jermiah Blount. I'm a personal trainer out of Franklin, Tennessee. I am the creator of the HEAVYISH Method. Today's topic is why most people can't deadlift 225.
Coach Jeremiah, how's it been? It's been about a week.
It's been about a week, man. Living the dream.
Awesome. Hopefully, if you haven't already today, I don't really know your schedule. If you've hit your workout, I think you're more of a morning, if I'm not mistaken.
I am a morning person, but realistically, it depends on my schedule, my training schedule with my clients. I try to be as consistent with everything as I can. You know, I try to eat when I can, when I'm dieting, things like that. It just depends on my schedule. I'm always consistent with my workouts. You know, always trying to get my walks in, things along those lines. But depending on what I'm training for or what I'm doing, I'm also a big person in enjoying life. Right. I think that we should enjoy ourselves just like anything else. Work out, enjoy yourself, spend time with your family. You know, I would love to say eat, breathe, and live the gym, but in some cases, you know, that's just not the case. If you're wanting to just live a good, healthy life, watch what you eat. You know, eat your protein, get your sleep, drink your water. You know, if you want to have a beer or two on the weekend or drink a little bit, enjoy your time, your family, your friends. Enjoy it all. You know, a lot of people may take that as in a free pass, and that's not what I'm giving. Or a lot of other influencers may be like, no, you don't want to do that, this. But I mean, there's a lot of extreme people and there's not extreme people. Like I said, I'm not training bodybuilders. I'm not training powerlifters. I'm not doing any of that. I'm getting people in the beginning from point A to point B so they live a better quality of life and a longer life. So that way, as they get older and they mature and we mature in age, that we can enjoy those little things that we can do when we're younger, in your 40s, your 30s. You know, when you get older and have grandbabies, you can see your grandbabies, your great grandbabies, things like that. You know, because the only thing that would really progress and lengthen our life is to, you know, be consistent working out, managing your food, managing your sleep, managing your water, doing all these things. It's really, really, really important.
Also, great words of advice. That was quite amazing. And props to you and any other listener who does those early morning workouts. Boy, it cannot be me. I'm after work about 5, go work out, and then immediately go shove a protein shake and eat some rice or chicken or salmon or whatever it be today.
Well, I mean, that in those cases is when you can get it in. You know, life isn't perfect, but that shows character on you that you can even go after the day when you're tired. You know, the biggest thing I see is when people work out in the morning, they don't feel as strong, but it makes them feel better throughout the day. You know, they're getting that endorphin kick and, you know, everything's going on. They feel good. They feel accomplished. They started the day. And then at the other spectrum, people that work out at the end of the day tend to be a little bit stronger. They've had their calories for the day. They've, you know, maybe had built up tension, and it's a good way to get it out, things along those lines. So, you know, finding the best spot in the day for you to work out and be consistent with is the day you should work out. You know, so unfortunately, some people don't have that luxury of having a consistent time, but it shows a lot of their character. If they're that busy in life and they can still get it in, that just shows a lot on them.
Awesome. Well, to talk about deadlifting, right? One of the most important workouts there is. I know we have people that we know who swear up and down by the deadlift, including yourself. You, of course, recommend it. But we know some people who are, you know, that's the favorite thing they want to talk about is what they hit that morning. But when it comes to deadlift, I feel like a lot of people, they know how to do it in theory, but a lot of, especially hinging, they kind of have a, not issue with, but I think there's a misunderstanding on the best way to do it. I think that they just kind of like reach down and try to pull.
Well, it's, you know, what a lot of people do is, you know, they try to sit too low into it, and then it turns into a squat. You know, they're not preloading their hamstrings, or when they bend down, they're keeping their back completely flat versus angled, you know, and driving up. So when you're completely flat like that, you got to hinge so much forward, right? Versus when you're when you're keeping that nice straight back, you're at a good solid angle, and you're just driving straight up with a little bit of hinge, right? But then you don't want to hinge too far forward, right? And hyperextend your hips, those things along those lines. And it's a technique, right? You should really pay attention, because it's one of those things that can hurt you. But if you do it properly and you're not watching for the drift, you're not, doing those things that you shouldn't be doing, it's a great full body workout. Does it work every muscle? Absolutely not. But it's a good way to incorporate the majority of your body, especially those big muscle groups that we want to hit. Like we talked about on a previous video, if you can just hit your back and your legs, you're going to have a better quality of life. And that's absolutely the case when it comes to the deadlift.
And to kind of give a definition, if you will, when you mentioned preloading your hamstrings, is there like a specific way you do that?
When you're getting into your deadlift position, right, there's a sweet spot there where you feel the tension built up in your hamstrings, right? If you're too high, you're not going to feel it. If you're too low, you're going to, it's going to release, and you're not going to feel it either. So, finding that sweet spot, not going too low to actually turn it into a squat and an actual deadlift, are things you really need to focus on. Getting the position right, your hand grip right, also keeping it mid-foot, and pulling it close to your body. I know some people, worry about shins, things like that, where you can get sleeves, socks, different things put on your shins, or, keeping it as close to your body. So that way you're not putting that extra weight too far forward or anything along those lines, where it puts that tension on your lower back.
I know you tell a lot of your clients, you should deadlift, always work a deadlift in there. Obviously, you don't have to do it every week. You can interval between squat, deadlift. But is there anyone that you've seen that probably shouldn't do a deadlift?
I mean, of course, there's people that have severe back issues, things along those lines. I would definitely talk to your doctor about it. But I also, a lot of times when we shouldn't do things by doing them or adjusting them, even if you can't get down into a deadlift, doing a rack pull, something along those lines in that same category, will help strengthen the back. Maybe not start off with a deadlift right off the bat, maybe some dumbbell good mornings, something along those lines to work that lower back, and then build your way up. But I do think that the majority of people should be deadlifting, depending on how hard you push yourself, depends on how much you should deadlift, right? If you're just really going in there and hitting it hard, really, really hard when you do, I wouldn't suggest, deadlifting more than once a week. And, deadlift your once a week, hit it really, really hard, and then go on, unless you're in a different type of split. Some people don't have that much time, right? So what I would suggest is hit your, maybe 3 workouts a day, or not a day, 3 workouts a week, and make sure you're hitting your four movements in those 3 days, and that way you can do a quick workout. You're hitting pretty much your full body, and you can rock and roll.
Awesome. Yeah, 3 days of workouts, or 1 day of 3 workouts. Yeah. That's quite intense. But if you're doing it, more power to you. What is one of, or if not the biggest myth you've seen when it comes to deadlifting, when it comes to, maybe it's a certain posture people will try to influence people on? Or
a lot of people say a risk to reward ratio isn't there. Okay. Maybe I just don't personally see it. This is a personal opinion. But maybe in certain circumstances, if you are a competitive athlete and you don't want to risk getting injured as possible. But I mean, if you're doing things right, it's, you're going to be safe, and if you're worried about it, we've talked about belts before, we talked about sleeves before, we talked about straps before, but for the most part, I 100% believe like there really shouldn't be a case, but it does happen.
Yeah. That makes complete sense. When it comes to a week deadlift, outside of, just starting out or anything, say it's someone who's been in the gym for 6 months and they haven't seen much progress in their deadlift, could it be due to an equally weak core, or is that not exactly true
I mean,
math? Or
no, our core strength. So if you're deadlifting, you're squatting and you're overhead pressing and everything, and you're breathing properly, really squeezing down on the core when you brace yourself, you're building core strength. Usually when it comes to that, what I would suggest is for someone that's just feels like they're not just getting strong, like, what is your diet like? Right? It's going to tax your system. If you look at your workout and you as a person are a cup of water, right? Everything you do, you're pouring a little bit out of that cup until it's empty. A deadlift is going to take the majority of that cup, especially if you're pushing yourself. So let's look at it as that. Are you going in with a full cup? Are you sleeping? Are you eating properly? Or are you doing all the things? Also, are you in a calorie deficit? Are you bulking? Are you maintaining? Like, all these things have, factors into it, especially if you're not very competitive or haven't done it in a long time. You may feel weak. You may get those things in your head like, I just don't feel strong, because you're trying to diet and these calories aren't there. So there's a lot of different things. But honestly, if you feel like you're doing everything right, why don't you step back? Drop the weight, focus on the form, right? Really, really concentrate on it, track it, right? Just don't be like, oh, I think I did this time, let me throw, and I just can't get past that number. You could just be throwing on way more than what you realize you're throwing on, and you just can't get the number. So what I would do is just step back, track it, work your way up, be consistent. Remember, a lot of gyms now have a bunch of smaller different weights. Even if it's a half a pound is more than what you just did.
Yeah, for sure. Talking about gyms with different weights and all different machines, is there a machine that could replace a barbell deadlift, or is that even obviously barbell's definitely the best, but
I'm more of a component just because of the way your body is, but they make some good quality Smith machines out now compared to what they used to do. There are some cable machines that you can actually hook a bar up to and deadlift with it. I haven't found an amazing one yet, but there, for the most part, there is things
there could be something that could be,
and even then you have dumbbell deadlift, so there's different things you could do if you just can't get your hands on a barbell.
When it comes to failure, if you will, through the deadlift, obviously you have your legs working, your core and your back are activated, your hand strength with your grip. What have you seen that fails the most? Is it that grip strength? Is it the legs?
Generally, in the beginning, it's grip strength for most people, right? Really the only way to build grip strength is to use it, right? And in the beginning, you're starting, your back is a lot bigger, your back is a lot stronger, things like that. Of course, you have construction workers, mechanics, people like that use their grip strength, but the majority of people don't, right? Typing on the computer, writing with a pen, things like that, you're not actually utilizing your grip. So you're not going to have the best grip strength. So what I would suggest in that case is, like I talked about belts and stuff before, try to do your warm-up sets without until you can't, and then start utilizing grip. Just don't go straight to it. Don't use it as a tool, not a crutch.
Yeah. And obviously this, not to be a loaded question, but for especially our older people that are working out and your clients, if they ever express that they're afraid of hurting their back, what is your go-to advice or kind of remedy for that kind of fear, if you will? To kind of give them more confidence and to say, all right, I can do this.
Well, don't start off crazy. That's the best. The best words of advice is don't just slap all the weight on there and expect it to go up and not get hurt, right? We have to build the muscle. We have to strengthen the back. There's a bunch of different bars you can get, anywhere from aluminum 15-pound bars, 22, 33s, 45s, 55. There's all kinds of different types of bars. And honestly, if you are, that worried about your back, switch to a trap bar in the beginning, practice with that, try to get the feel for it. It's going to feel a little bit different from actual deadlift. And once you get comfortable with that, switch to a rack pull. Once they get comfortable with that, then progress into a deadlift. All it takes is baby steps in doing it. It doesn't matter the journey that you take to get there, as long as you can get there. A good lift starts before the bar ever leaves the floor.
Thanks for listening to It's Supposed to Be Heavy with Jermiah Blount. Train hard, recover well, stay capable, and remember, aging is mandatory. Weakness is optional. See you next time.